Kia ora, and welcome to Tuesday's Economy Watch, where we follow the economic events and trends that affect Aotearoa. I'm David Chaston, and this is the international edition from interest.co.nz, and today we lead with news the US downgrade is seeing the trend of higher interest rates extend. And in the US, we have more negative signals. The Conference Board's leading economic index plunged by 1% in April after declining sharply by 0.8% in March. These leading indicators have declined by 2% in the 6-month period ending April and is now just shy of signalling recession, they say. But it is actually back lower than the last Trump presidency when there was a recession. At an investor day in New York, the boss of the US's largest bank, JPMorgan Chase, said investors are underestimating geopolitical and inflation risks. Quote, "Credit today is a bad risk," he said. The people who haven't been through a major downturn are missing the point about what can happen in credit, unquote. In Canada, their largest province has announced a budget that prioritises higher spending and larger deficits in the coming year in a direct effort to protect Ontario. The next federal Canadian budget isn't due until at least September. In China, retail sales rose by 5.1% in April from the same month a year ago, moderating from March's over one-year high of 5.9% and missing market estimates of 5.5%. But it was one of the still good data releases from China, one that is in a rising trend, even better because they have virtually no inflation. Another positive data release from China came from their industrial production, which grew by a claimed 6.1% in April from a year ago, and better than the expected 5.5% gain. However, the latest figure eased from a 7.7% growth recorded in March. And meanwhile, electricity production rose only 0.9% in April, hardly supporting the much stronger industrial production data. And China, which regulates the wholesale price of petrol and diesel, announced cuts overnight to take effect immediately. Meanwhile, their national real estate investment fell again sharply, and the residential sector was down 9.6% from April last year. And prices for new and previously owned housing are still down sharply on a year-on-year basis, even if there are small pockets of regional improvements. Meanwhile, Chinese residents trading foreign stocks or holding offshore accounts are being put on notice as authorities take full advantage of cross-border data to trace unreported earnings. In the EU, their economy is projected to grow by 1.1% in 2025 and 1.5% in 2026, and both are downgrades from the levels forecasted last autumn. This is according to the European Commission's Spring Outlook. The downgrade is primarily attributed to the impact of rising tariffs and increased uncertainty stemming from the recent abrupt shifts in US trade policy. On the inflation front, disinflation is now expected to proceed more rapidly than previously anticipated. Inflation in the Eurozone is projected to ease to 2.1% by mid-2025, reaching the ECB's target earlier than previously expected, and to decline further to 1.7% in 2026. And staying in Europe, we should probably note that buy now, pay later giant Klarna, which also operates in New Zealand, is seeing its losses grow. In the first quarter of 2025, they doubled to $100 million as consumer credit losses rose sharply, even as revenue grew. And later today at 4:30 New Zealand time, the Australian Central Bank will review its cash rate target, currently at 4.10%. It is widely expected to be cut by 25 basis points to 3.85%. That would put it still above the New Zealand OCR at 3.5%, and our official rate is also expected to be cut by 25 basis points next week to 3.25%, restoring the differential. But although both cuts are expected and priced in, more attention will focus on the next likely shift. Some see the RBA done with one cut, and the next move is a rise. Background inflation risks are still elevated there, their labour market isn't suffering, and growth prospects are still there even in the current turbulent world. The US Treasury 10-year yield is now at 4.47%, up a mere 3 basis points from this time yesterday, but curves are steeper. And the price of gold will start today at $3,227 an ounce, up $25 from yesterday. And oil prices are holding again today at just over $62.50 a barrel in the US, while the international Brent price is 50 US cents lower at $65 a barrel. And the Kiwi dollar is now at 58.9 US cents, up 10 basis points from yesterday at this time. Against the Aussie were unchanged at 91.8 Australian cents. Against the euro were also unchanged at 52.7 euro cents. That all means our trade-weighted index starts today still just over 67.5 and up 10 basis points from yesterday. And the Bitcoin price starts today at $105,393 and is essentially unchanged from yesterday. Volatility over the past 24 hours has been moderate, however, at just under plus or minus 2.2%. You can find links to the articles mentioned today in our show notes, and you can get more news affecting the economy in New Zealand from interest.co.nz. Kia ora, I'm David Chaston, and we'll do this again tomorrow.